So boom. We talked about it briefly off camera. Let's talk about the old Atlanta versus the new Atlanta.
Yeah.
And the impact of Atlanta.
Hey man, when I see those T-shirts that say Atlanta influences everything, when I go around the world, man, I know my girlfriend just came back from Colombia. She said it's a club down there called Club Atlanta, and it's a hookah bar.
What?
Yeah, and they play trap music.
What?
So when you think about the cultural reach that Atlanta has, man, we are felt everywhere. And it started with old Atlanta. It started with the Kilos and the Shadies and all of that, and then moved up to the Outcasts and the Goody Mobs, and then moved up to the Futures and Migos and Gucci and all of that. But you can feel, especially in a hip hop way, which is what I always wanted to do on the acting way.
When I was looking at your, the interesting things about Mr. Omar Dorsey.
Yeah.
We have an unbelievable team. Shout out to the team, Big Brico, Ashe and Co. Giving me intel to find out about the talent. And it was like, you wanted to be a rapper.
I did want to be a rapper. I thought I was the best rapper in the world.
As everybody in Atlanta at some point.
Listen, bro, I thought I was the best rapper in the world until I heard Players Ball. I said, oh, they do Andre different. I was like, bro, when I heard that, I said, oh, they doing something different down here.
Hallelujah. Hey, come on, man.
Listen, man. Yeah, I thought I was gonna be a rapper. But I can't do nothing. I can't rap a Christmas gift now. But man, no, you coming up, man, that's what everybody wanted to do. And especially like with my age, it was people getting signed. When LaFace first came down, with So Def, when Jermaine Dupri had Crisscross and all them, and he was signing people from my high school. I went to Avondale High School, the Cab School for the Performing Arts, the Cab County School for the Performing Arts. And so we had a sister named Nina Lee who was signed to So Def. She was on So Def Christmas album. I was like, man, just goddamn, let me try to beat Jermaine Dupri. But then I was like, oh, these boys, they doing something different out here. Now I'm gonna stick to this acting thing, man.
But check this out though. So I recently, and please, viewer, do not get mad at me. I want you to check it out if you can. I seen a documentary on the plane headed to go see my younger brother play at William & Mary. It was called Bowlegs. It was about an influential person in Atlanta. And please, somebody, Ashe, can you please get me the name of that person? It was about an influential person behind the scenes of the growth of Atlanta.
Oh, really?
And he was a lawyer that, as far as where we are now, we talked about the cultural from the entertainment segment of how Atlanta is so important.
Right.
The segue into not just the culture, but all platforms from music, sports, entertainment, everything, acting.
Right.
And this is something that our forefathers laid visionary, stones back in the 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King.
Before then, either.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Martin Luther King. Who else? We got Maynard Jackson.
Yes.
Andrew Young.
Yeah. James Orange. There's so many different people. Ralph David Abernathy.
All them.
All of these people who laid these foundations down. You can go back even further than that. You're talking about Auburn Avenue. People talk about Black Wall Street in Tulsa. Auburn Avenue was that in Atlanta. And still is now.
Circuit.
It still is now. It's so funny. My dad, I remember when I was in high school, I said, yo, Dad, we said, where you going tonight? I said, I'm going to Royal Peacock. He's like, that's still around?
Wow.
I said, I was going to Royal Peacock back before Vietnam.
Yeah.
I said, for real? So these are places, and even, have you ever seen the picture of Martin Luther King shooting pool? It's a picture, it's a real infamous picture. Martin Luther King shooting pool. And it was in the Royal Peacock.
Wow.
And this is in the 60s or the late 50s or the early 60s.
Right.
So these places have been around in Atlanta. Auburn Avenue was Black Wall Street in Atlanta. Yeah. Before we even were even thought of.
So the individual I was talking about was Marvin Arrington Sr., a person who, initially went to Howard,
Right.
right? Got homesick,
Oh, wow.
came back to Emory.
Oh, wow.
Was the first, him and his best friend was the first people to graduate with Emory Law.
Black people.
African Americans.
Yeah.
And where I'm at with it, it's like, bro, like looking at that documentary, I said to myself, I'm like, bro, like we've been paving the way.
For sure, no doubt
But
about
I
it.
think the thing with this new Atlanta has to understand is, bro, if it wasn't for the Jeezys, the T.I.s, the 2 Chainz, the you know, these guys who've been, you know what I'm saying, making these I wouldn't say catastrophic, but these big moves.
Yeah, for sure.
It wouldn't be no Lil Baby. It wouldn't be no Gunna. It wouldn't be no Young Thug.
Right, for sure.
If it wasn't for So Def,
Right.
it wouldn't be QC.
Right.
You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And like Outkast and all these different groups. If it wasn't for Outkast, it wouldn't be no Amigos.
Yeah, right. No doubt about it.
Like,
yeah.
and everything. You see what I'm saying? So even when you're talking about the influence of the culture from the business sector, like Atlanta has the busiest airport in the world.
For sure.
The world, Craig.
Yeah, for sure.
The world.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was because of the Andrew Youngs.
And the Maynard Jackson.
The Maynard Jacksons.
Yeah, built that airport.
To see something and say, because initially the black culture was in Birmingham. So they said, you know, instead of it being in Birmingham,
That's true,
we gonna migrate to Atlanta
Yeah.
and build and have this blackness that's
Right.
authentic.
Yep.
It's different in New Orleans.
Right.
It's different in Miami.
For sure.
It's different in New York. It's even different in California.
One thing about New Orleans is like they're so self-contained there. Like I've been there for 6-7 years now, you know, shooting Queen Sugar down there, and man, it's a beautiful city. It's the most unique city in America, in my opinion. But they are so self-contained. They are so New Orleans. The way they speak is differently than anybody else.
Geechee.
Is that hey my baby, hey baby? You know, it's amazing.
It's comforting.
It is, and it's their own lane.
Yeah.
You know, one thing about Atlanta is so many people migrate down here. You know, because of the universities. You got those. You got all these. You got the Emory. You got the Georgia Techs. You got the Georgia States. But it's the Morehouse, the Spelman, the Clark, and the Morris Browns that made black people come down here.
Right.
And when they come down here, they end up staying down here.
Yes.
They ended up building businesses
Because they
down here.
feel that they're wanted.
They feel like they're wanted.
They see, man, I remember a producer that's on with Iconic Saga, Omari. I call her Peggy.
Okay.
Right. Peggy said, bro, when I first came to Atlanta, I ain't never seen so many black people in positions of power.
Yeah, man.
Like, man, I ain't never seen a black dude drive a Benz on top of, he behind another black woman that's driving in a BMW. And
Exactly.
then behind him is a young dude that's driving in a, you know what I mean?
Cam, I'm gonna tell you some real talk, man. When I moved to LA, I was in my early 20s, and it was a culture shock to me. I'm from Atlanta. I'm used to black everything. I'm used to black chief of police, black mayors, black judges, you know, but I moved to LA, and I remember like the first couple of weeks I was there, I got stopped. And I was living in Glendale, California. And I was like, well, I mean, did I do something wrong? I don't know, you know. I wasn't even driving no nice car. He was like, you know, we just want to check.
Probable cause.
Probably just, you know, driving while black. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that didn't really happen to me in the A. You know what I'm saying? And so it was a culture shock because I lived my whole life in Atlanta. And so when I moved out there, I was like, oh, this is what people are always talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is what people are talking about. So it is so welcoming to people of color, specifically black people, when they come down here, man. You know?
And when I talk this way, and for the viewer, like, because I do have a multi-dimensional audience.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? I'm not really trying to defame Caucasians because
At all.
I do have unbelievable presence from the Caucasian community.
For sure.
All I'm doing is using my platform to impact and empower.
And all I can do is tell my story.
That's it.
All I can do is tell my
That's
story.
it.
And just about like, you know, my perception, the way that I see things. You dig?
Yeah.
So when growing up as a child, born in Georgia Baptist Hospital, You know what I'm saying? In the Fourth Ward, you know, raised in Decatur, you know, lived my whole life either in Decatur or in Atlanta, you know, and then picking up and going somewhere else. Now, what I do love, I also live in Harlem too. So I still feel that same kind of love and the same kind of impact in Harlem that I feel like down here.